Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So the video I wanted to make today, it's Tuesday, the video I wanted to make this morning just hasn't happened. It's been one of them days, or one of them 2 days. We at a family funeral yesterday. I had to go to Lichfield to get my back done yesterday morning. And my truck decided on the way home it was a good time to overheat and shit its head gasket again. So yeah, and the van's gone off today again for its third clutch in 600 miles. So I am thoroughly fed up with vehicles and just everything else. The sheep were out this morning because the bloody puppy got out. The puppy got out of the walking paddock that we use for walking, and she shot off across the field and around the sheep. So it's just been an absolute bloody nightmare of a week. So the video I wanted to make today, I'm actually going to do now. I'm going to record tomorrow morning, because I'm busy taking my, as you can see by my oily hands, I'm busy taking my Land Rover to bits to have a look at why the head's leaking water like it is. Because I need a truck for next week. Oh, well, I need a vehicle, full stop. And I currently don't have a vehicle again. So the vehicle, so what I'm going to do, so next week, obviously, we're doing the Centre in the Past project on, starting on Tuesday the 23rd. And actually, as part of that, we're going to set up and lay out all of the centering, the framing floor, the works, using medieval methods. So I've got here a copy of the Doctrine of Handiworks by Joseph Moxon, a reprint. I was looking at the other day, I need to find it again. So what we're going to use is we're going to use an old-fashioned level. We're going to use plumb sticks and an old-fashioned level like this. So I've actually started making a level, and unfortunately I haven't got a single board that's quite wide enough to get me what I want. So the other day I glue laminated a board, which is there, okay, and I've glue laminated it using PVA because I don't want it to give up during the course. So I've got to sort and clean all that out. I've actually chosen to use hideous African walnut for it because it's the only wide inch boards I've got here at the moment that aren't earmarked for other things. I appear to have got right down all my stock of inch timber very quickly in the past few months through repairs and what have you. So the only thing I've got a little bit of red deal, but that's earmarked for something else. There were some really clean boards, and I've got another project in line for those. And then I've got this African walnut from a job from many years ago. It's not a timber I would order and specify now because it's hideous timber. I hate working with it. But yeah, I've got it left over from a job. So I've laminated 2 boards there. That one's going to be around 2 foot, 2 foot 6. And then I'm going to make a slightly bigger one. But Moxon himself only talks to them being 10 foot long. We were told by an expert in medieval carpentry methods that they would have laid out with massive ones. Well, you know, he said I needed one the length of the tie beams on the project. Well, at 4.5 meters, really? I don't think so. So Pete's exploring optical levels. So yeah, there's going to be lots of interesting things coming up on that side of things. So I'm going to make a 10-foot one, and I've got some more of this walnut, and we'll look at that as well, hopefully in Thursday's video, if I get a chance tomorrow. But I also wanted to talk to you today. I've had, it used to be a lot more common than it is now, but I've had a tender request recently. Who knows who from? I won't give the guy's name who's actually, I managed to get a name out of the guy. But using a false address, or I'm fairly sure it's a false address because it comes back to a drama centre, and all the details about the job have been scrubbed off. The dates the plans were drawn, the dates the plans were drawn, who they were drawn by. All those information boxes have all been blanked out of the plans for this project. It's a grade 1 listed building, and the only information I could get out of the guy was it was in Birmingham. Now, that's probably going to be a trap for young players. I'm not a fresher. I've been self-employed since I was 19. I'm 43 now. I've seen all that. I've seen all these things. In the early 2000s, when I first went self-employed, it used to be that they would sell you a subscription to a tender list survey. Obviously now it's really easy because you can just search them online. You put in Google and search tenders. But they would sell you a subscription, and these guys were proper snake oil salesmen. They would promise you X number of leads on jobs, and I think basically they would keep an eye on papers or websites, just about websites then, for when these big planning applications were being posted on these websites, and they would then convert that, find out who the developer was and everything else, and they would send you a lead, and you'd give them a check every month for X amount of money. And then there were a couple of tender list websites that you paid for a subscription on to see the tenders and whatever. But yeah, this struck me that it was a roofing company, perhaps, or a venture capital company or somebody like that wants to put a tender in for the project, and they wanted a quote off a subby, but he wanted a detailed quote, but then hadn't provided detail for me to give a detailed quote on. And then he was like, oh, we'll put a caveat in that you can't fully price it until you've made a full inspection. I was like, no. So, just be wary, guys. The young lads out there who are just starting out, well, some of you older guys as well, don't get drawn into spending a lot of time. If you flick through what they send you and they haven't even been bothered to take photos of the sites of the repairs on this timber frame building, they'd only taken photos of the roof, and one set of plain tiles is very much like another set of plain tiles on the various facets of this roof. Yeah, there was a lot of rough lead work on it that wanted doing, but at least be bothered to take a photo of the timber work that is in the schedule, And for me, I don't like doing subcontract work anyway. It always ends in tears. But I at least like to know who the main contractor is. There's very few guys I will work for on a subcontract basis now. I'll work for Lost Marble Building Conservation, definitely, because those guys are brilliant. I'll work for Oakley Frame Buildings, again, because those guys are brilliant. And they're a real nice team to work with, and there are a few other, conservation firms that I would work with, but actually I wouldn't work subcontract for many people now. So at least have the decency to tell you who you're going to be working for, Don't send out tenders. Don't even respond to tenders if they don't want to give you all the information. Do your due diligence checks. Make sure that the address that they are asking you to put on the letterhead for your quote, for your estimate, for your tender application is the right one. If they can't provide a company name, or if they won't provide a company name, and you start to Google addresses and look on Street View and you find that it's a performing arts centre, it's a dance studio basically, I wouldn't go there personally. And that's my own personal experience. I've been stung like this before. I've written vast amounts of tenders for jobs over the years, and actually I've put detailed quotes in when I've been approached I've had it a couple of times with local authority work, where I've been approached for the job. I've then written a full specification for what my work's going to be. 2 weeks later, I've been sent a tender pack, word for word, with my quote wording on that tender. So just make sure, guys, when you're doing all these sort of things, that you know who it is that you're getting involved with. It's easy to get caught. I've been caught in the past, you know, working for some interesting characters. I once worked for a development company who were growing very rapidly, and when they went bust, they knocked me for several £1,000s. I was quite early on in my career. You know, I'd not long had the new post driver and bought my own tractor. And about 4 weeks later, my tractor went bang after they'd gone bump, and yeah, it just got to be difficult. So just make sure you do all your due diligence checks and make sure you know who you're working for. I like to build a relationship with somebody before I work for them. And even so, you still get caught. You know, you can do all that and you'll still get caught at times, but you're minimising your risk all the time by doing a bit and making sure you're checking out who's who and what's what. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that subject, guys. There are people out there who are professional messers, and they will mess you around and you waste your time. And I just I'll always stay polite. I try, you know, manners cost nothing. So I sent a polite response to say, look, it was just too vague, and I wasn't going to be providing a quote on that basis. And they didn't offer any more information, so they weren't that desperate for me to do it. So there you go. Make sure you keep doing your checks, and you know what's going on. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, guys. I promise there will be an action video on Thursday. I'll get that recorded tomorrow. I've got another job to do in here as well tomorrow that I'll need to install on Thursday. So I'll get that done, and I'll try and record both jobs so we've got an interesting video for Sunday, because I don't think I'm going to get a chance to edit the video that's supposed to be going out on Sunday, or supposed to have gone out last Sunday. In fact, it was supposed to have gone out 2 Sundays ago, but I don't think I'm going to get a chance to edit it. It's quite a long video, and it's in 7 or 8 different sections at the minute that I need to edit together and chop a few bits out and what have you. So yeah, please, you know, bear in mind I'm trying my best, and I will try and keep doing 3 videos a week. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you on Thursday's video. Cheers, guys. Bye.